Accursed Farms. So this is a video titled Europeans Can Save Gaming. If you don't know, basically the idea, he's gonna explain it in the video, I assume, but the idea is from 4 months ago, they have a legal team, and basically what they want to do is they want to make sure that live services can't shut down the servers and basically make your game a brick. So this is not about refunding your games. This is not about making sure that the servers never go down. This is none of that. This whole thing aims to achieve only one single thing: to make sure that you have the means of somehow playing the game. So either that is peer-to-peer connected servers, either that is people, like, making servers themselves, something. This is the only thing that he wants to achieve. So let's watch this.
I'm Ross. For the past several months, I've been working on a campaign to stop the destruction of video games.
Yes.
See, most video games work indefinitely, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But more and more are being designed to stop working the second support ends from the publisher. A kill switch, essentially. It's a form of planned obsolescence, where publishers are destroying games they've already sold to you, but keep...
I don't necessarily even think it's planned obsolescence. I think it's a case of, well, we poured our money into this thing. Unfortunately, it's not making money for us, so we're just gonna cut it so we don't have to pay for servers. I don't think it's even planned obsolescence. It's literally just it doesn't make sense.
Keeping your money.
It's not like because planned obsolescence usually means that they want you to basically move on to a newer product, right? In this case, it's just like negligence, basically.
And this is all preventable. Some people don't understand that. I've compared this before to studios from a century ago burning their own films after they were done showing them to recover the silver content. And now most films of that era are gone forever. That's very similar to what's happening to video games today. It's just a terrible practice for everyone involved. Now, most of my efforts have gone towards challenging the legality of this practice in various countries, because it's so consumer hostile, it's not clear if what's going on is even legal. That's still ongoing, but now we have a new option, proposing new law, and for the entire European Union. It took
Which, by the way, I know a lot of people in my audience are US based, right? So let me make one thing clear. Europe can pass this. There is a very, very good chance that this passes in Europe. The way people think about these sorts of things is wildly different in the US. I don't know why, but it is. So that's why I'm sort of actually being... Because usually with these law things, I'm like, it's never going to happen. We can talk about it, it's never going to happen. In the EU, there's a very good chance this passes. I mean, look at our privacy laws. We're not getting, like, any of the AI stuff, basically, for months. Because it's like, well, what you got there? You got copyright infringement? Like, let us check that, you know?
To get put together and processed.
It's very different.
But now we have a European Citizens Initiative devoted...
Which, by the way, the reason why your iPhone now has a USB-C. Europe. Based.
To halting the destruction of video games. You can read it yourself. This would require publishers to leave games they have sold to customers in a working state at the time of shutdown, without requiring any further connection to them or affiliated parties for the games to function. How they would do this would be up to them. This would also apply to free-to-play games that contain microtransactions. Because if you purchased a microtransaction as a good, then the game is made unplayable, well then you just lost your goods. This would not require publishers to give up any of their intellectual property rights, give up their source code, though that one would still be nice. It wouldn't require endless support.
They're not going to give up their source code. It would be very nice because, like, I mean, they're done with it, but they're not going to.
They can end it anytime they want.
This is the most important thing because people got stuck up on this. Like, why would a company lose money by supporting this, like, indefinitely? That is not what this is about, and that is the biggest thing why this can pass. All this wants is you are running servers on your big, like, actual server, you know? Just give us the thing to host a server. Most games on PC have this. Like, the reason why you can host, like, a Don't Starve dedicated server is because the developer has made that available. The reason why custom servers exist in, like, every single game is because the developers have made it possible. Minecraft. All these games have servers public. The problem is that a lot of these live service titles, they deliberately don't want to give us that. And that's what this aims to change. It just basically wants to make it illegal.
As far as we're concerned, you wouldn't need to host servers. Though they would have to either patch out that requirement or else allow customers to host them privately. Assume any liability for what customers do with their copies of games.
Yes.
And finally, nothing about this initiative would have any impact on publisher business practices while the game is being supported. In other words, publishers can continue doing whatever they want as long as you get to keep your game. It amazes me when some people say that's going too far in favor of the consumer. Though to be fair, that's probably not most of your...
It's also to protect people's IP addresses. And the protecting people's IP addresses has always been a sticking point for these things, but with a lot of these things, it's literally as simple as you're hosting the server, you know what you're getting into, therefore, like, it's not their business. As simple as that.
Europeans.
It's a fair point, though.
The idea here is we're just trying to stop games from being destroyed. That's it. So we're taking as narrow an approach as possible that still solves the problem. If we get enough signatures, then this goes before the European Union to be considered as new law. Now, if you're on board with this...
Which, by the way, the right to repair is basically this as well. Right to repair, if you don't know, is basically it allows third parties to make custom parts for, like, proprietary parts, basically.
To keep watching.
All these things are really, really good.
But wait.
Because otherwise, like, you buy a game... It's the same thing as, I don't know, you buy a phone, and actually, yeah, let's use a phone example. Let's say I have my trusty iPhone 7, which I still haven't replaced, my iPhone 7, right? And because we're already on iPhone, I think it's 15 or 16, Apple just literally disabled my phone. Not like, hey, I can't get updates, I can't get whatever. It would literally just shut down. Just, like, shut down. This is what's happening to live service games right now. They decide to end support, it shuts down. You can't play it at all.
Before you do,
it's not
you
legit.
have one chance to do this right. It's not hard, but if you make a mistake, your signature is invalidated and you don't get another chance. We've made guides at StopKillingGames.com on how to do this, just in case. But is this as simple as people sign this and it becomes law in the EU?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be. Now, it's not a guarantee, but I think if we get the signatures, this passes. Why do I say that? Well, it's a few factors. Politicians like easy wins, and this doesn't require them to do much at all. And unless it involves gambling or protecting children, politicians generally don't care about video games. So this isn't a...
and that's the thing, like, that's kind of a double-edged sword, too, because, politicians don't care about video games, and that could be a problem, because if literally anyone understood why this is a problem, they would instantly say, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Because, like I said with the phone example, right? It literally makes no sense that they just say, we're going to shut these servers down, and the thing you bought is now a brick. You still have the software, but you can't run it for some arbitrary reason. That makes no sense.
A big consequence to them or most of their constituencies. EU law is already unclear on a lot of this practice anyway, and we would be making it easy for them to settle it. It falls in line with other consumer practices. You know, how when you buy something, you're generally allowed to keep it?
Yeah.
And finally, this is a
what a wild
diversion
idea.
from really serious topics that politicians would prefer not to deal with. This would let them stay busy and avoid hard stuff. In fact, I would bet if we can clear the signature threshold, this passes into law and we solve the problem 90% or more. I say 90% because this would only impact the EU. So if a game was released...
yeah, that's the thing. It will impact the entire world. Because when you think about these businesses, the same thing as I said with the USB-C thing, right? When you have to adapt for a market as big as Europe, you're going to change your entire business structure. China is like an example, is an exception for that. Because China is one country, right? As you know, a lot of games are completely different in China. I think like WoW, for example, you can't show like bones. So all their bones are like covered up or something. I don't know the full story, but I know that a lot of stuff is censored in China. A lot of the like business practices are different there. Yada yada, right? But when it comes to the EU and the US, our economies are like so integrated and so similar in many ways that this law will be applied to everything. And like even if it's not, we're just gonna host servers in the EU, and people will play through the EU, and eventually it's going to come to the US too, just because it's like another arbitrary line that needs to be crossed. Skeletons. Yes, all skeletons I think are covered up. I'm pretty sure... Oh no, I think Blood was covered up. Maybe Blood 2 was covered up. I don't know.
Released only in China or Japan, yeah, this wouldn't save those.
Yeah.
But most video games are sold globally, and the EU is part of that.
And also, by the way, another beautiful thing with like open source things, you know the best thing about open source is? It doesn't matter what's legal, because we could just send it to you. We just, like, download it from the official European Union server website, and then just drop it in a little Discord server, and then just like, oh, there you go, John from America. Have a nice day.
Is this a requirement that companies have to let you keep the games they sold to you in a major market like that? I think it spreads, whether it's the law elsewhere or not.
Exactly.
Now, unfortunately, what I would not bet on, because it's a huge unknown, is whether we can pass that signature threshold to begin with. In order for this to work, we need 1 million signatures across the EU. Though really, it's more than that.
It's going to be much more than that.
Because some are going to be invalidated because who knows why. So really, we need more like 1.2 or 1.3 million signatures.
Yep.
Oh, and it gets worse, because you need certain minimum thresholds per country for it to pass. So say somebody signs it in Greece. Well,
there's a sad part to this. There's a good chance Latvia is not going to get them.
Well, then we need almost
I think we need
15,000 more Greeks to sign it. Otherwise, none
We're gonna
of
look
the
at the
Greek
map later.
signatures count. That rule strikes me as rather obtuse and awkward. I almost wonder if the EU took a page from the United States for that one. Anyway, that's a lot of signatures. I might be delusional for attempting this. I don't know yet. Now, the good news is we have 1 year to get them all, so we will have time. Although I'll say right now, there is no way I can get that many Europeans just from my audience. The only way this works is by reaching out to European YouTubers and streamers and so on.
Yeah, this is the unfortunate part. I'm a European streamer, but most of my audience is also US and UK based. I don't think the UK can even sign this. So, like, literally 2 of my biggest, like, audiences, because, like, it's an English-speaking audience, right? Even though most people in the EU speak English, it's still, like, not legit, you know?
To get on board, and non-English speaking ones at that.
Yep.
Now, I'll do my part and promote this the best I can, but I have limited reach. In fact, since I've started Stop Killing Games, I want to say everyone I've reached out to never responded. So me reaching out doesn't work.
I am one of the European viewers.
However, there are 2 things that did work. One is people reaching out to me, since I respond to a lot. And 2 is people just covering this on their own. That really worked. Which means if you're watching this, you may be a critical link in all this.
I am the most critical link. I will make it happen.
YouTubers, streamers,
single-handedly
about this initiative, and maybe they'll pick it up. And again, it's even better if their core audience is non-English speaking. The number of native English speakers in the EU is relatively small, so we need to connect the dots in other languages the best we can. Now, I'm offering myself for interviews, publicity on this issue, whatever, to almost anyone with a European audience of some size.
I'm sure, like, Charlie's going to cover it.
In addition to that, the official spokesperson and backup spokesperson for the initiative have offered to speak on this also. And they are multilingual. And we have a few more official organizers who may be willing to discuss this.
Can I become one? I can be the Latvian one. I gotta reach out to this guy. I can be the, because we got our Lithuanian brothers, we got our Estonian brothers. I can fill in the trifecta.
In other languages as well. These are the people officially in charge. You know, actual Europeans. Yeah, even though I've helped, officially, I'm not a part of this. I'm not eligible. Doesn't matter. Whatever gets us to the finish line. And speaking of eligibility, it's pretty simple. You need to be a citizen of an EU country, though you don't have to live there, and you need to be at least voting age.
I'm also that.
That's it. This also means it's not just you who can sign this, but your friends can sign this. Your family can sign this.
I've sent this in all the Discord servers.
Can sign this. They all count. Get everybody. And tell them to get people to sign too. And yes, it feels weird that I'm an ineligible American campaigning for Europeans.
Yeah, by the way, don't do any weird things. No VPN signs, nothing. Don't. You can't do that. You need to be an actual citizen with an actual European citizen ID code. No shady VPN things.
To sign a document. But you know what? If it passes, we all win. So we just have to go to where the openings are. Oh, and if your relatives or whoever don't care about video games, you can explain to them this is also about not losing basic ownership. Like if video games are cars, What's happening now would be like if I sold you a car at full price, then later, and I wouldn't tell you how much later,
Turn
so
off
it's
the
not a
brakes.
rental, I then came to your house and repossessed your car. But I also kept your money. That is not good business.
No, but it's not even repossessing. It's like you sneak into the car at night, you remove the pedals, and leave, and that's it. It's still in perfectly fine condition, but there are no pedals, and you also stole the key, so you can't start the car. Theoretically, it would start just fine, but you can't drive it and you can't start it. It's still there, but you can't.
Or not for the consumer anyway. Yeah, I guess taking back what you've sold is great for businesses. Maybe that's why the industry is worth more than movies and music combined. I get it. Video games aren't that important to most people. But because of that, they're the canary in the coal mine. What about farm equipment, education tools, medical devices? You do not want this practice spreading to other areas, believe me. Now, one thing I want to say is some of you have already done the math and realized we need an average of over 2,700 signatures a day in order to make this work.
Yeah, it's not gonna be per day. It's gonna be like,
we're not going to get that many every day.
yeah, it's gonna be a huge spike. Then it's gonna he's gonna peter out. Everyone's gonna think it's so over. It's so over, and then it's gonna be, oh, we're so back when we get to like the deadline.
This stuff happens in waves as big people pick it up. Plenty of days will be below par, but others could be 10 times or higher. So don't write this off too early. Don't be that guy I've seen in team games who gives up at the slightest sign of resistance and calls it game over 30 seconds into the match. I hate that crap.
It's cringe.
I think we're at a crossroads. If we can get enough signatures, then I think we end this and change gaming history. Or we can't get our act together and the problem gets worse and worse, then in the future, we really don't own anything.
I think if this doesn't pass, things are gonna get a whole lot worse. Because then, imagine like the signaling of this. If this whole movement happens and we literally try to get through the EU to pass a law, and people don't care, what does that signal to the bad side? Well, they don't care. So we can keep doing it, right? This needs to pass.
And we're charged a lot for not owning anything.
John
Now,
Deere was pulling this during the
lucky
lockdown?
And this is redundant.
I don't know about
all
that.
the other legal challenges we have going. But either way, this is it for your chance to save games. There's not going to be a round 2. If you or someone you know is an EU citizen, you have the power to end this just by signing a form. Though this plan may have a critical weakness, and that I'm counting on gamers to care about not seeing their games destroyed. I hope that's not too big an ask. Because years from now, somebody could be saying,
You gotta tab out.
I had the chance to save gaming, but it required me to open up a whole new tab in my browser.
I mean,
and fill in my name and a CAPTCHA. Oh my god!
And the worst part is you gotta pay attention too, because like, what if you misspell something here, the whole thing is thrown out. You got to be really careful too.
I didn't do it. It was just too much work. It wasn't worth it. If that's the general sentiment among gamers, then yeah, I can't overcome that. Then I'm Don Quixote here fighting windmills. I hope that's not the case. So, yeah, go sign it or tell somebody European about it.
I'll link the whole thing in chat. Oh, there's gonna be, well, I think there's more. He's back.
Oh, and this doesn't have to take a year. If we get way more signatures than we need, we can end it early.
Yeah.
So you can
you just need to get the threshold. I'll link it in chat. I'll link the video and I'll link the movement itself. The movement. They pushed a software update that disabled tractors and harvesters, etc., unless people bought new subscription. I know that's really bad, but that's so funny to me. Imagine one day your tractor just stops working. It's so funny to me, and that's what I mean. Like, that is the actual practical implications of this that people don't seem to be thinking about because it's haha video games. That's literally what we're talking about. It's literally just a thing you own being shut down. It's just like zero fanfare, nothing. One day it's working, the next day, it's not. Why? Why not? Now we want more money. Which, by the way, think about the business implications of this as well. You sell something, and then a week later you decide, actually, you already bought it, right? So now you have the sunk cost fallacy. I can make you pay more. And then even more. And then maybe even more. And before you know it, I'm gonna have a lot of money. It's very goofy. Latvia, 698. So we are at 12%. We're doing okay.
Tātad, sākam, ejam, bakstam to linku lejā. Vienkārši parakstam, un cerams, ka pareizi parakstam. Un vienkārši daram visu, ko mēs varam, lai saglabātu spēles, kuras mēs vēl izbaudam, vai ne? Tā kā, davai, neesi mīkstais, neesi pīders, un pustim savu pakaļ. Dari kaut ko spēļu labā, jo mums visiem paspējam tak nolāpīt to lietu un Igauniju, vismaz. Anyways.
Patiesi un bāzēti. Patiesi un bāzēti. Viss, ko es teikšu. Hold on, let me see. Are we doing better? Oh, we're not. I didn't know this guy was Latvian. Who is this guy? Very true and very real what he said. Maybe I need to make a short. Maybe I just need to sit down and say... I like how whenever I want to make an epic speech, I immediately go to English, just because, you know, it's like, hello, my fellow Latvians. It just sounds a bit more ominous. In Latvian, it doesn't really sound that imposing. But we're not even better than Lithuania or Estonia. And if there is one thing about the Baltics, is we are damn competitive. So come on. We are at 12%. The Lithuanians and Estonians are both at 15%. Man, we gotta pump up those numbers.